Welcome to Odds.com's NCAA basketball coverage with our expert, Maxwell Smart. Max, you are a sight for sore eyes. We have missed you dearly. You were on a very hot streak. You had won 7 of your last 8 shows with us. You had an 18-unit swing. You are now 72 wins, 55 losses, 56.7%. Plus 11.67 units, ROI plus 9.19%, average line minus 110. You were winning, and then we went on a Christmas break, and we've missed you dearly. It is great to see you, Max. How you doing, my man?
Well, I'm doing all right. It's been a really fun day, starting with that VCU St. Joe's game with Ryan Daly appearing in the walking cast. I was just like, boom, I could just feel it today. And it was a really good day, and I'm just happy to cap it off, filming another episode for Odds.com and the great Odds.com audience. And hopefully we're going to freaking get right back on the train. And it's not going to be a roller coaster down. It's going to be a roller coaster up.
Yeah, it's I always get nervous when we take a break when you're running so hot. And we've lost 3 games that you had planned on attacking. BYU, Pepperdine, the Weaver State, Idaho State, and Eastern Washington. Whoa, I've got Eastern Washington back here. It is canceled, though. Is that right?
Yes, it is. 2 hours ago, they put out it was canceled.
Yeah, I had it canceled. So we lost those 3 games, but we still have 6 games to attack, Max, and we have missed you. Are you ready to get to work?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I just want to point out for the audience, just so they are reminded, once the Pac-12 gets into conference season, I try and just stay away from it altogether. I did get on Colorado versus Arizona. We know how that turned out. So that's why I am limited today. But I think that these games are going to be really good, and we got 2 good Big Ten matchups that we're going to break down. So I think it's going to be fantastic regardless.
Let's roll. It is Wednesday night, December 30th. We're 11 minutes till midnight. We are capping basketball for Thursday, December 31st, New Year's Eve action. Your last winners of 2000. Max, let's get to work. You start at 4 p.m. Eastern. Utah State Aggies, 5-3, 2-0 in the Mountain West. At Air Force Falcons, 3-3, 1-1 in the Mountain West. Clune Arena, Colorado Springs, Colorado. We have Air Force opening up as 11-point dogs. Now that opening, again, that's a Bet365 opener. We use the legal licensed books, so it's a little different. You're not going to get the wild swings. 11.5 now, and we have a total that opened up at 131 that's now at 130.5, 130, and there's even 129.5 on the board. We're Clune Arena, Colorado Springs. Utah went into their Christmas break hot. Winners of 4 straight, coming off back-to-back home dismantlings of San Jose State. I mean, San Jose State's a bad basketball team, and they are on this card later on. They won the 2 games by a combined 88 points. They have 4 players scoring in double digits, 2 players averaging over 8.8 rebounds a game. 7-foot center Neemias Queta is averaging 11.6 points, 8.9 boards, 3.1 assists, and 2.6 blocks. He's filling out the stat sheet. Air Force is coming off winning the second half of a back-to-back at Nevada. They won the second game as 11.5-point underdogs, led by A.J. Walker's career-high 27 points. Max, it's the first game on your card. Utah State, Air Force, take it away.
Yeah, with this matchup in the Mountain West, you're going to have basically a 2-man arsenal when it comes to Air Force. A.J. Walker came back, which was a big surprise. Thought that he would have transferred out, seeing what departed from the program last year. But him and Chris Joyce, these are the guys that are going to be dependent on in this matchup tomorrow afternoon, which is going to be televised on CBS Sports Network. So Chris Joyce and AJ Walker, they do a couple things well. They're hitting around 33 to 35% each from the 3-point line, so there's nothing spectacular. But they get to the free throw line, and 4 out of 5 starters within a team with limited depth need to make their free throws, and 4 out of 5 of them make 80% or more. So there are some matchup disadvantages. The most obvious one is going to be a front court size one. When you're looking at this Utah State team, you already mentioned him. 7-footer name is Keita. He is a beast. He is definitely still an evolving offensive weapon. But I think that the most important player in the front court and the guy that's going to be able to give you the most on both sides of the ball is going to be Justin Bean. Justin Bean, what he's done is he gets high percentage looks. He gets close to the rim. He welcomes the contact, and he's a great finisher after getting that contact. Gets to the free throw line, makes his free throws, so that's someone that you're going to count on a possession-to-possession basis to get you offense, because he's a little more refined than Keita is. I think that when you look at this backcourt, Marco Anthony running the point is definitely going to be front and center. You don't need Marco Anthony doing a lot offensively, but you need him facilitating and getting that ball moving side to side and inside and out. This is a Utah State team that does very well when a defense isn't really ball hawking. So it'll be interesting to see how the backcourt of Air Force goes up against this ball movement, because with Raleigh Worcester and Brock Miller, you have two capable guys, one that can get into the lane, one that can hit some threes, and with Stephen Ashford and Sean Bairstow off the bench, you have a couple more potent three-point shooters. So with this game, I think that it's definitely a spot where Air Force is going to probably have trouble dealing with the front court size for Utah State. Their depth and lack of it will get tested. And the one thing that you really have to worry about is what Utah State's defense is going to do. They got to shut down Air Force from the three-point line. You cannot allow them to shoot 35% or better. And when it comes to two-point defense, where Air Force is around 49%, Utah State's defense is around 42%. That really has to play out tomorrow in favor of Utah State for them to be able to cover this number. Otherwise, I think that this may be a tight game like the Nevada game. Being the first game of the back-to-backs, the home and homes, I will take Utah State on the spread, and I do like this game to go over. I think that there will be points on both sides, and Jim, you did mention a 129.5. If it's at an appropriate juice, I'll take that as well right now.
All right, so let's start with side. You want to move full game?
Yeah, I think that I'll move full game. I would prefer, obviously, to get 11 if that's around, but if not, I'll take the 11.5.
There is 111, but it's juiced to minus 118.
I'll take that.
Well, let me see if I can do it any better here. Yeah, I can't. Let me just check Circa. Well, I think Circa was 11.5, yeah. But there is a 129.5. So let's first get you Utah State minus 11 at minus 118. That is available at FoxBet. Here we go at FoxBet. And then for totals, I know Circa's hanging the 129.5. Let's just see if any of these other books are doing the same. We're shopping on the odds.com odds page. And no. So Circa is your best bet. So we have a full game over 129.5 at minus 110 available at Circa. We are in business, Max. We move on to a Big Ten classic here. Minnesota, Wisconsin. Number 21 ranked Minnesota Golden Gophers, 9-1, 2-1 in the Big Ten. And number 6 ranked Wisconsin Badgers, 8-2, 2-1 in the Big Ten. Kohl Center in Madison, Wisconsin. The total here at FanDuel, PointsBet, FoxBet, sitting at 143.5. Let's move over to the side and see what we are dealing with here. We have 7.5s across the board with varying juice. Minnesota bounced back from their 27-point loss at Illinois, their lone loss on the year, by winning 3 straight at home. They beat St. Louis by 8. They beat Iowa 102-95 in overtime as 6.5-point dogs. Then they destroyed Michigan State by 25 as 3.5-point dogs. Liam Robbins, 18 points, 9 boards, 3 blocks in that complete shutdown of the Spartans offense. Toronto boy Marcus Carr averaging 24 points per game, 6.1 assists. Wisconsin had their 5-game winning streak snapped in a 70-64 loss at home to Maryland as 9.5-point favorites. They have 4 players scoring double digits, hit 46.2% from the field, 41.5% from 3. Here we go. We have 2 teams in completely different situations. One feeling very good about themselves, the other very angry. Max, take it away. Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Yeah, Jim, with this Minnesota game, it's a real hard game to pick a side on just because in the back of my mind, I've watched every Minnesota game for the last 3 or 4 games. They've been fantastic at home. They've cost me money. They won me a little bit of money back. But now they're going on the road. You know, last time they went on the road, they went to Illinois and they got spanked. Now they're going to Wisconsin. They're playing a different animal, and they happen to catch Wisconsin at a pretty bad time, coming off a home loss to Maryland. So the real question is, can Minnesota hit threes on the road versus Wisconsin and stop them and that 41% 3-point shooting team average? I don't know right now. I have to look at Minnesota as a team that still is not getting enough respect from the line makers. But this very easily could be a blowout. Both are very solid at the line, so that's going to be something that has to maintain itself in order for Minnesota to stay in it from the get-go. And the question is, can Minnesota speed up the tempo and pace of this game to get to 70, to get to 75 points? Because if they can get to 80, they're going to win this game outright. That's my opinion on it. But the more points they score, the better it is for them. This total, is lined around in the mid-140s. It's a spot that's going to actually put the pressure solely on this revamped roster that Coach Pitino's put together with Brandon Johnson, Liam Robbins, and both Gok. Can they play on the road the way that they played at home? And that's the big question. If they can get on the offensive glass and get some putbacks, get to the free throw line, stay out of foul trouble, and Marcus Carr puts up 30, then they're staying in this game right to the last minute, and they could win it. But if Marcus Carr doesn't put up 30 in this game, then this could be blowout city, and Wisconsin gets a nice piece of revenge. For show purposes, Jim, I'm going to take Minnesota. I'm going to just keep on riding them. Wisconsin, although they're balanced, they don't really have guys that take over the game, and they have a lot of older upperclassmen that disappear at times, mainly being Nate Roovers and Brad Davison. I find that through watching Wisconsin, they've faded a bit in second half, so there should be a little bit of an advantage to bet there if you're betting live. But limiting fouling and keeping Minnesota off the free throw line will be first and foremost the biggest battle for them. And winning the turnover battle. Both these teams are responsible with the basketball. Wisconsin doesn't turn the ball over more than, I think, 8 or 9 times. And they both get good point guard play. I think that when you look at the total, it's pretty easy to look at this game going over, because if you look at the numbers and what the results have been from the game logs, you're going to see that these guys have gone over in 4 out of 5 games in the daytime. But for show purposes, I'm going to take Minnesota on the spread, and I'm going to just make the total over a lean.
You have an option here as to how you want to attack this spread. Do you want Minnesota plus 8.5 at -110, Or do you want Minnesota plus 7.5 at plus 105?
No, I'll take Minnesota 8.5 minus 110.
That is available at Circa Sports. Minnesota plus 8.5 minus 110 at Circa. Man, you wish there was fans at Kohl Center for this Minnesota-Wisconsin rivalry in all sports is so much fun. Well, there you have it. Minnesota Golden Gophers plus 8.5, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. We move to 5 p.m. action. San Diego, San Francisco. San Diego 1-3 on the season, opening up conference play. The Dons opening up conference play too, sitting at 6-4. We're at the War Memorial at the Sobrato Center, San Francisco, California. At Bet365 right now, we'll shop around for whatever Max wants. We have San Francisco sitting as 13.5-point favorites. We have a total at 143.5 that's juiced to the under minus 120, plus 100 to the over. San Diego got a late start to their season because of COVID issues, and they have not played well, losing by an average of 14.2 points per game. They have just one player, junior guard Joey Calcaterra, scoring double digits a game. They're hitting just 38.1% from the field, coming off an 85-53 loss at UC Irvine. 53 is all they could put up. The Dons stopped their two-game losing streak with a 68-65 win at home over Grand Canyon. Guards Jamari Bouye and Khalil Shabazz combined to average 33.2 points, 6.6 rebounds, and 6 assists a game. With their guard play, they can play with anyone. But the question is, in their front court, Max, San Diego, San Francisco, take it away.
Yeah, Jim, with the San Francisco team, they've definitely had a tough road as of late, and you can see that by the win-loss column. But this is definitely a team that is talented. They can push the tempo. They can speed you up, one of the rare teams that can do that. And with a guy that you mentioned, Jamari Bouye, this is a guy that contributes either assisting or scoring on 40% of San Francisco's buckets. So if he has a good game, San Francisco has a good game, and that usually means San Francisco wins games and covers. This is a weird game for me because a lot of people are going to look at San Diego's performance against UC Irvine and be like, well, this team doesn't have it offensively. I think that this team just played a really tough defense with a really tough front court on short notice without a lot of preparation time. And that was one of the reasons why they got beat the way that they did. I think that against San Francisco's style of defense and their size in the backcourt, where they're going to have an advantage, whether that be Frankie Hughes or Josh Paris or even Finn Sullivan, all having a couple inches on Bouye and Shabazz. I think that's going to play a factor for them. Obviously, with three-point shooting and scoring in general, you really want to only rely on Calcaterra, but this is a team that can get to the rim. I've watched Frankie Hughes play at Duquesne, and I think that he can be the X factor in this game and helping this game get over. With this San Francisco team at home, I think that this is a game that really resembles the Long Beach State game. And, Jim, you remember that game quite well. This is a spot where I'm going to get on San Francisco first half and full game, and I'm going to take the over. I think that when I look at the first half number, I think that San Francisco has a 9-point first half advantage. And I think that there's a good chance that they can be the team that maybe scores 37 to 39 points and keeps San Diego to 28 and under. This is a San Francisco team that makes 11.5 threes a game. They need to make more trips to the free throw line. The one area that I'm a little worried about, Jim, is that San Francisco, I don't know if they're not into wake and bakes and having a good time early, but they haven't played well ATS in the day. 2-5. So it's definitely a nice sample size. But I do think that this is a get-right game. This is a rivalry game. This is a California State game. And as long as San Francisco can do their job on the offensive glass, and I'm looking at frickin' Dimitri Rooney to do it, I think that this is a San Francisco team that's going to be able to get their pace, get their tempo, and score enough points to get this game over and cover this 13.5. But I will say this, Jim, before you go on. defense in the second half will be key. If you see the defense lacking, this is a time where you look to make a live play. So obviously check me out on Twitter. I'll put something out specifically for this game at halftime if it's in that situation.
What is your range for first half action?
I would prefer something around 7 to 8.5, but I'll go as high as 9.
Okay. And let's line shop now for your full game over. It's 13.5 is the market for full game spread. Let's see what we can get you for the over here. Shopping on odds.com. All right. Not going to get help there. Let's move over to Circa. They have a full game over of 141.5. That's a nice number because that's 2 points less than Bet365's. Bet365's at 143.5, and FanDuel's at 142.5. So you have them all. 141.5 at Circa is nice. Minus 110.
Oh yeah, definitely, Jim. That's the beautiful thing about Circa. I wished I lived in Las Vegas. They're a high roller casino sports book, and that's why they're able to hang those numbers. They're not afraid, and we'll hit them.
Yeah, Las Vegas, you can bet Circa. Also Colorado. Those of you in Colorado can also use Circa over 141.5 at minus 110 at Circa. Put that there. You got the minus 13, have a minus 110 at FanDuel, and your first half range is minus 7 to minus 9. Max, we move on to the big, giant game. I mean, Minnesota-Wisconsin is a big game. But so is this. Number 16th ranked Michigan Wolverines, undefeated, 7-0 on the year, 2-0 Big Ten. And the Maryland Terrapins, 6-3, 1-2 in the Big Ten. We're at XFINITY Center, College Park, Maryland. Let's see what we are dealing with from the market here in this giant game. We have Michigan as 1 point favorites. A couple books have them at 1.5. This total at 142.5. One book's moved it to 142. It's going to be fun. Michigan's undefeated streak to start the season reached 7 games with their 80-69 win at Nebraska on Christmas Day. Their average margin of victory is 14.3 points per game. They hit 51.1% from the field, 77.2% from the line. Isaiah Livers scores 15.4 points, grabs 5.6 boards, but it's 7-1 freshman Hunter Dickinson. He's scoring 15.3 points, grabbing 8.4 boards. He's a difference maker. Not that Isaiah isn't. Maryland is coming off a big 70-64 win at Wisconsin as 9.5-point dogs. They hit 48.3% from the field, just 69.6% from the line. Their defense is strong, allowing just 65.1 points per game. Max, does the Michigan Wolverine train keep on rolling?
Listen, Jim, I'm not a big fan of Michigan. I don't like their football. I definitely don't like their girls' softball. But I'll tell you this, I like them tomorrow. This is a spot where Maryland rewarded their backers and rewarded their money line backers handsomely. Well, the party bus is getting pulled over and it's getting towed to the fucking parking lot. So I'm going to say this. With Michigan, I was very critical of them pre-season. I thought that Juwan Howard is just only good for getting things from the top shelf at the grocery store, not actually coaching, developing, and nurturing college basketball players. But I was wrong. I can admit it. And I've been watching this Michigan team, and I thought that ball handling would be an issue. I thought that point guard play would be a problem, not having a 5-star recruit to replace Xavier Simpson. But Eli Brooks and Mike Smith have done a fantastic job of running the offense, moving the ball from side to side, getting their wing players engaged and into spots that they can score from. And you mentioned it, Hunter Dickinson. He has been the difference maker for this Michigan team. What did Michigan need last year that they didn't really have on a possession-to-possession basis? A guy that can go back to the basket and give you a bucket every other time. Well, John Teskey, all respect to him, this is a much better offensive product in Dickinson. And that is why Michigan is so dangerous. And going on the road, we already saw them go on the road to Nebraska. And let's be frank here. There is no easy task going on the road in the Big Ten. You could ask Michigan State that. They can cry to you on your shoulder for many hours and many long-distance minutes. I think that Isaiah Livers, Franz Wagner, Chaudry Brown, and of course, big man Hunter Dickinson just outclass Maryland. I'll give props to Hakeem Hart. He's been fantastic. But this is where the gravy train ends. I had Michigan lined as a 6.5 point favorite.
Ooh.
So you want to give me 1.5? You want to give me 1? You want to give me a money line? I'll take that. On the road, in a COVID environment, yeah, Michigan, let's do it. Lock me in.
Wolverines -1 at -110, available at Circa and Bet365. We move. Magnifique, he says. Okay. All right, we have 2 games left on Max's card. Max, I've missed you, man. Nice to be capping with you again. We go to 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Boise State Broncos, 6-1, 2-0 in the Mountain West at San Jose Spartans, 1-4, 0-2 in the Mountain West. I start smiling when I think of the San Jose Spartans. Their football team came together. Their basketball team has not. Boise State, 20.5 point favorites at Circa right now. The total at 149.5. We're at Provident Credit Union Event Center in San Jose, California. Since losing their first game of the year, 68-58 at Houston, Boise State's rattled off 6 straight wins. They're coming off a 37-point beatdown of New Mexico before the Christmas break. They have 4 players scoring 12-plus points per game. They hit 47.1% from the field, but just 66.9% from the stripe. San Jose is 1-4, their record says, but they're 0-4 against Division I competition this year, losing by an average of 29 points per game. They hit just 35% from the field, 29.9% from 3, and 63.7% from the line. They get just 10 assists per game. They have 1 player scoring double digits, 6'6" senior guard Richard Washington, who averages 22 points per game, but he's the only one doing anything. Maxie, take it away. Boise State, San Jose State.
Yeah, Jim, I think that this is a pretty obvious play for me. What I love about Boise State is it's what's developed and been cultivated by Coach Rice around my most hated NCAA Division I player, Derek Alston. As much as I hate Derek Alston, I really like the role that he's playing this year. Last year, Derek Alston had to do everything. He had to handle the ball. He had to guard the best player on the other team on every possession. He had to make every big shot. This year, oh my God, when you watch Boise State, this is a team that is fantastic. They have multiple different weapons, starting off with freaking Ray J. Dennis and Max Rice, the coach's son, in the backcourt. Both have really good offensive tools. Both are really good two-way players, and that's going to play a big factor in this game against San Jose State. With Boise, you got to put teams down early and not give them any sense that they can stay in it. That's the best way for Boise to play. And I think that when you have 2 Canadians, Abu Kijab and Emmanuel Cott, you can do that. These are guys that are going to create transition opportunities for you to get out on the break and score close to the rim. These are capable defensive players that are not going to get bullied. They're not going to get manhandled, and they're going to be able to guard without fouling for the most part. There isn't a weakness on this team and in this roster that I've observed yet. And to just top it off, the caveat is Marcus Shaver is healthy again, back in the lineup, and already contributed double-digit points in limited minutes. He's about to explode, and San Jose State is the perfect team to do it against. In addition, they're playing in some YMCA gym tomorrow that I have never heard of, but they're playing there. There'll be one live camera for the stream, so it's going to be real ghetto as hell. But this is a Boise State team that now can play fantastic offense and can match it with that defense. When I look at this team, you have to stop who you just said, Richard Washington. That's the guy you got to stop. Push him out to the three-point line. Keep him away from the rim because he's not a good three-point shooter. He's a volume three-point shooter. Seneca Knight shooting 16% from the three-point range. That's just not going to win you any games. That's not going to cash you any tickets. With this total, I hit it when it first opened at 151.5. The line moved down, and then I just go to one of the system rules that I've learned over the years, which is if a conference game has a total line to the 150s and it goes down more than a point, you take the under. This is a system that's been working for many years and was found by someone way smarter than me. And I use it now frequently in conference season. So Boise State is going to dominate, in my opinion. This is a very good first half team. They're only allowing 27 points per game. They have an 11-point first half advantage by my numbers, and I believe they'll score 37 to 40 points. And just to top it off, San Jose State is 0-3 when they are a 15-point plus underdog. So I think that you can read my mind, Jim, and I've talked enough about this game. But I'm going to go first half. I'm going to go full game Boise, and I'm going to take the full game under.
Let's do it. Some nice juice for you available at FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you that 20.5, but just at minus 104.
Okay.
So let's start with that. They're all hanging 20.5 right now, but a minus 104 at FanDuel. Then your first half range is what?
Probably nothing, 10.5 to 12.5 points. I don't know if we'll get there, though.
10.5 to 12.5. And then we have a full game under 149.5. Bet365 and Circa both hanging at 149 at minus 110. And I believe that FanDuel was at minus 112. Okay, so we'll give you the minus 110 available at Circa. So that is a under full game, under 149.5 at minus 110 at Circa. And we are in business. Last game on the card. COVID took away 3 games from us. And I long to cap with you, Max. I can't wait to have you back in action here. 9 p.m. Eastern, Nevada Wolfpack, 6-3, 1-1 Mountain West at New Mexico. Lobos, 3-2, 0-2 in the Mountain West. Dreamstyle Arena, Albuquerque, New Mexico. So, New Mexico Lobos, they've come home now from this? Their counties letting them play at home. Is that right, Max? Yeah,
apparently they're going to be at the pit playing. So,
wow. Okay, so for those of you guys who haven't been following the teams in New Mexico, been very, very difficult. The county didn't allow them to gather, so they went and hit the road. They hit the road in mid-November and cost a lot of money. And they moved to a couple different counties in Texas that had ridiculously high COVID rates. And they were on the road. They'd been on the road, and even with that back-to-back that they just had in Boise State. Let's talk about Nevada first, and let's give you a market here. The market that we are dealing with is Nevada opening up as 4.5-point favorites. That moved to 6. This total is at 147. The indicator books have moved it to 148. Nevada coming off an upset loss, 68-66 at home to Air Force as 11.5-point favorites. They went just 2 for 24 from 3 in that game, and they've been stewing on that game since December 20th. They have two guards in Grant Sherfield and Desmond Cambridge who combined to average 30.1 points, 7.9 boards, and 8.1 assists. New Mexico coming off getting badly beaten as well. This was at Boise State back-to-back games by a combined total of 61 points. Their lone returning starter, Makawach Malawach, who we spoke about quite often on this show, is their only player scoring more than 10 points per game. As a team, they hit 44.2% from the field, which isn't awful. You want awful, you go look at their three-point and foul line shooting. They're hitting just 28.9% from three and 61% from the stripe. Market moving towards Nevada, Max. Does that make sense? What's your move here? Final game of the night.
Yeah, listen, Jim, this is a real weird line movement because of when the line's moving. I think that this is a spot that is screwball home dog city. But I have to look at just New Mexico in the first half. I have to look at New Mexico in the first half only because this is a New Mexico team that just doesn't shoot the ball well. You said it. They got one guy that can shoot the three. The other guy that can shoot the three, Keith McGee, he has an ankle injury. So I don't know if he's going to play or be able to contribute offensively. And I think that when it comes to this defense, yeah, they look bad. But I think that this game is more along the lines of the Rice game, 73-61 type game, where they muck it up, they use their size, they make it a physical game, and they really test Nevada's depth because let's be frank here, Nevada, if they want to drive and just run pick and rolls and just back cuts all game, I think that they can do some work there. But with New Mexico, the question always is going to be, what are you going to get at the point guard spot? Jeremiah Francis doesn't really give me a lot of room to feel warm and fuzzy. Saquon Singleton, well, we know what he does. He doesn't shoot the three, and his free throw shooting is an abomination. But he's still a good kid, and he's a human being, so power to him. But it's just a real sad offensive scene when it comes to New Mexico. I want to jump on them first half, just fading this line movement. But for the show record, I'm hesitant, Jim. I don't know what to do. I've watched Nevada in one game look great against Air Force, and then in the next game shoot 2 for 24 from three. I've seen Zane Meeks get 34 minutes. And I've seen Zane Meeks get 16 minutes. You never know with this mutt. They have coaching named Steve Alford, who they gave a 10-year contract to. The pros for Nevada are they played more games. They have more continuity. They're road tested. They have a 9% free throw line advantage. They're the better defensive team. The problem is, if they get killed on the glass, that's a lot of free throws, even if they only make 64, 65% of them. So, as you can see, I'm having a little bit of issues here. I'm going to bite the bullet and take Nevada -6 full game, and I'm going to take New Mexico first half. I've seen Nevada play so-so and have to make some good adjustments at halftime. But if they're going to win one of these two games, I do think it's going to be the first game. But I do think that with New Mexico coming off such a poor performance, I'm going to look at it as two games within one. Nevada will win the full game. New Mexico will win the early game.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about your range first half for New Mexico in a second. Let's first make a decision on whether you want Nevada -5.5 at -114 or -6 at -110.
-5.5, -114.
-5.5 and -114. That is available at FanDuel. Then we have New Mexico first half. What is your range?
Yeah, I'm going to go 3 to 4.5 on that.
3 to 4.5 for the Lobos first half. Very interesting.
Well, I just want to point out, Jim, we've seen so many of these tale of two halves. I've been the victim of them. I've cashed on them. It's just something that when you talk to someone that isn't betting and watching a ton of college basketball, they think, well, that's stupid. Why are you doing that? Why don't you just pick one side? Well, that's the thing. There are so many of these games that you really have to add it into your game-to-game capping.
Very exciting look on that final game. Max, let's review your action. Let me know if there's any mistakes here. You start with the Utah State Aggies -11 at -118 and the full game over 129.5.
Yep.
Then you move on to the Minnesota Golden Gophers at +8.5 at -110 at circa. Max, do you think the fact that they went to Illinois and got destroyed by them is going to help them here in this tough road spot?
Well, I hope that it brings them together and they watch the film from that game and see where their mistakes were. The problem with young kids are they fall in love with a certain kind of shot. They don't recognize that something isn't working against the defense fast enough to limit and stop the bleeding. And that's something that we're going to have to wait and see with Minnesota tomorrow. It's definitely something I'm a little worried about, but like every college basketball capper and what they should be doing, they got to bet the number before they bet the team. So
I agree. San Diego, San Francisco, you're on the Dons full game -13.5 at -110 and the over 141.5. You're looking for a first half between -7 and -9. You're on the Michigan Wolverines -1 at -110 to go 8-0 to start the season. You're on Boise State full game under 149.5 at -110. You're on the full game -20.5 at -104. And you're on the first half, you're looking for 10.5 to 12.5. Then you have the Nevada Wolfpack -5.5 at -114. And your first half range is -3. Oh, excuse me. Then you have the Lobos first half, and your range is +3 to +4.5.
that is correct.
There you have it, Max. You have been missed, my friend. It is now Thursday, December 31st. It is New Year's Eve. It's 12:29 a.m. These games pop off, and first game pops off in not long from now. Not long, just 16 and a half hours, or 15 and a half hours. Sorry, I'm not doing my math right. 15 and a half hours. And that's Utah State Air Force. Max, you're 72 and 55, hitting at 56.7%, plus 11.67 units, ROI plus 9.19%, average line -110. Any last words for these great cappers and our friends, fans, supporters watching the show?
Yeah, listen, it's been a very up and down season. Hopefully in the new year it'll be more ups than downs. But we're having a good time, you know. We're eating those chicken tenders. We're dipping them in honey like we're supposed to. We're loving the local ladies of the night. And New Year's is going to be fun, you know. Hopefully it's going to end off on a nice winning note for everybody that watches the show. And I'll say this. I like college basketball. It's better than the NFL.
Yeah, it's been very good to you. It's been very good to you. But you put in the work, Max. On behalf of Maxwell Smart, myself, and everybody at odds.com, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a very happy New Year's. And Max, it's a treat to work with you again, man. You've been missed, my guy. Here we go. Happy New Year's. Let's rock and roll. Max has hit being in the black 7 of his last 8 shows.